Anne is probably one of the best known students and theosophical movement worldwide by now. With her professional experience and skills as a radio and television presenter, her enthusiasm and boundless love for the ancient divine wisdom, she has built up a fellowship of several thousand people on her YouTube channel in the shortest space of time. Everybody benefiting from her wisdom when she talks about her own experiences and how she could overcome the most difficult periods in her life. In her presentations, she always emphasizes the importance that the study of the theosophical teachings is only a beginning. They have to be put into practice to change our whole constitution. Only then can we experience their benefit. And that is what she tirelessly does, streaming and hosting the Living Theosophy YouTube channel to spread the theosophical message. Anne is also a member of the Blavatsky Lodge, which is using her Living Theosophy channel for all public events. Everybody contributing as a guest speaker is met and supported with unconditional love by Anne, making everyone feel special and greatly appreciated. Wherever help is needed, she will fill in. Like the board of directors for the charity of the Theosophical Society in Scotland, finishing her part of a book in a series of important texts from the history of the Theosophical movement, combined with the writings of contemporary Theosophists, and still busily streaming and hosting Living Theosophy channel devoted to spread the divine wisdom. Anne prefers to remain known simply as a voice of service, and that the spotlight should always remain on Theosophy and never on individual personalities. We are all just students, and what we share is information and our insights, complementing and supporting each other in true brother-sisterhood. Only by changing ourselves can we contribute to making the world a better place is always her motto. So over to Anne and her fascinating talk about how this can all be achieved.
Oh my goodness, that was so beautiful. And I have to let you know, that is not the intro that I sent. She has rewritten that so beautifully. That is so gorgeous. Thank you, Petra. What an honor. I am so pleased to be here. Thank you so much, Petra. I love you. I love you. I love you. I do. It's an honor to be here with all of you. And I hope that I can live up to a billionth of that introduction. But it is true. I am a student of Theosophy, and I am a dedicated, passionate voice. That's it. These teachings are not my own, as you know. I'm simply sharing my experience because that is what I do own. Theosophy in practical application. These teachings simply remain symbols on pages until they become actual, factual experiences in our lives. So as much as we're learning from all of these presentations, all of these texts, it is imperative that we become these teachings. So that's what I did my talk on, because that is what I'm so passionate about. And I am very passionate. I want to let you know, yes, I am American, and yes, I am gregarious, but there's nothing more important for us to do but to get these teachings out into the world so that others may benefit from them as well. So here is a quote that I have asked Petra in the past to help me figure out, where did this come from? This is something that we've heard before. Theosophy is who Theosophy does, not thinks, not studies, not feels, but does. So these teachings remain almost like in a two-dimensional space until they become active. And when they become active through our doing, through our compassion, through our empathy, through our reactions, when we actually take what we have learned, when we think about who we are, how we are connected to everything and everyone, when we actually put them into application, they become vivified, they become alive, and they become an active force. So when you see this quote, and I wish I could find its origin, it's imperative, because as Petra mentioned, there is a book series that I'm working on, and all of this is coming from this particular book. And I was lucky enough to be teamed up with George Arundel, and he is the older Theosophist, and I guess I would be considered the younger modern Theosophist, to write alongside about Theosophy and practical application. So it is what you do. It is not necessarily what you study, it is what you do. So all of these lessons that come through about cosmogenesis, about karma, about reincarnation, allow that to affect your everyday life. And there's nothing that Theosophy is not a part of, nothing. So as we know, Theosophy is something that everybody is a part of. Any person, this is from the Studies in Occultism. I love this one because people say, well, if you're a Theosophist, what does that mean? Well, I always say, if you boil it down to one word, it is compassion. That is my description of it, compassion. Others will say altruism or service or love or unconditional understanding, but any person of average intellectual capacities and a leaning towards the metaphysical, of pure, unselfish life. The unselfish part is imperative, and who finds more joy in helping his neighbor than in receiving help himself. One who is ever ready to sacrifice his own pleasures for the sake of other people, and who loves truth, goodness, and wisdom for their own sake, not for the benefit that they may confer, is a Theosophist. And I know right now that I am speaking to a room full of Theosophists, but outside of this room, there are Theosophists doing exactly this. And that's who I'd like to be able to reach. I'd like to let them know that they're not alone, that there's many of us coming in, and that we're here to work to help to ease the unnecessary suffering of all beings on this planet. Theosophy is a textbook. These texts that have come through, especially the ones from HPB coming through, but not exclusively, but the last 2,000 years, she has written down an incredible collection of instructions on how to live our lives. Okay. Yes, Theosophy is literally a textbook for humanity. And when applied in everyday life, it helps us navigate our time here on Earth. Theosophy offers fleshed out factual answers to every question imaginable. Literally, there is nothing that Theosophy cannot be applied into, whether it be your bank account, whether it be a relationship, whether it be a health issue, somebody is passing away, a car accident, you name it. These teachings teach you how to cope, how to see a bigger picture, how to know that there's way more to your story, how to react, how to overcome yourself, because that's where all of this takes place. Theosophy doesn't take place at Gloucester Place. It doesn't just take place inside a building. It doesn't take place just at Adyar. It doesn't take place just in these Zoom meetings. These are just little snippets of how you get instructions on how to live. Theosophy takes place every moment of every day in the dream state. It takes place the moment you wake up, the moment you react to whatever situation is taking place in your life. If it's a bounced check, I mean, who writes checks anymore? An overdrawn account. That's where you apply it, because you understand about acceptance and your ability to navigate the situation. Where is the solution? It isn't going to be in the problem. It's going to be when you change the way that you think, when you change the way that you react, when you change the way that you respond. You are so powerful. You have now the instruction manual to navigate into the third millennium and bring what needs to come into this world, the consciousness, the elevated consciousness. You're here to do that in your everyday life. Come on, slides. There we go. But the big thing is, one of the things I like to talk about is when people say, oh, well, you know, Theosophy. Now, these are non-Theosophists that say, oh, well, you know, it's a religion. No, it's not a religion. It's a way of living. Theosophy is a way of life, and it is based on fact, not faith. And that's a big thing, because the teachings that we have now coming through these organized religions, many people still to this day, I am baffled when I still see people going, well, my parents did that and my grandparents did that. And so therefore I'm going to do that. And I say, well, what about your personal experience? And they said, it doesn't matter. They told me it's true, so therefore it must be true. Therefore, you're missing out on the entire thing. Go by your own experience, because as scientists need to prove something, they will have an experiment. You need to have that experience to prove your own fact. Okay, it's based on fact, not faith. It's the uninterrupted record covering thousands of generations of seers whose respective experiences were made to test and verify the traditions passed orally by one early race to another. Okay, they watched over the childhood of humanity. Okay, so these wise men of the fifth race, they saved and rescued these from the last cataclysm. Now, as we learn in our theosophical teachings, talking about the waves of humanity, these teachings date back to the very beginning of time itself. They are not just from the 1800s or the 19th century. They date back all the way to the beginning of recorded history and beyond. They came in with this creation of the universe, and they're always going to be here. I apologize, I can't read these. I don't understand. Anyway, how did they do that? Okay, it is answered by checking, testing, and verifying. Okay, all of these teachings have been verified, and then they were verified again, and they were confirmed and verified again, and so obtained as to stand as independent evidence. So Theosophy is not just a hypothetical guess. This is not just one channeling of information. These have been tested and verified for thousands and thousands of years. That is from The Secret Doctrine, Volume 1. And I have here, there is nothing more important for us to do. This is the most important thing. I am so passionate about Theosophy because I believe that in the future, in our future, our world will change. This is Catherine Tingley. I didn't include that quote, but she talks about this is the belief system. She calls it a religion, but it's not a religion, as you know. But this is the past and this is the future. And we're in a very important time right now in our chains and rounds. We are coming back up around, and this needs to come into the consciousness right now. There is nothing more important to do. It is imperative that we use what we have in front of us. We have this technology. What you are looking at in front of you connects the entire world with one button. One button, you can be anywhere in the world. I guarantee you that HPB, I cannot speak on her behalf, but I'm positive she'd use the internet to get these teachings out into the world. I'm positive that the adepts would want to use the technology of today, not just newspapers, not just mail outs, not just books. Those days were then. This is now. It's 2021, and there is nothing more important for us to do than to take these teachings and get them out into the world. Share our own experience. If you don't feel that you're qualified to share them, you have your own experience. You have your own life. You own that. You can share that. You can share that. Get online, get on TikTok, get on YouTube, get on whatever, and share these teachings. Get them out into the world. So, Theosophy is no dogma. It is not. There are some theosophical things that seem to go on to dogmatic weirdness, but that's okay. That's human nature. It is no formal religion. It is no specific mode of science. Okay, it's not exclusive. It's no carefully constructed philosophy representing the gaze of man into the heavens. It isn't. It is an experience of reality on the part of some who, transcending the microcosm, coming out of the microcosm. We are the microcosm. I remember in my very first lesson in the diploma course through the T.S.E, when I first heard that man is the microcosm of the macrocosm. That's hard to get your head around. So if you're watching this on YouTube at some later date, you are that. That is you. You are everything. And you are essential. Absolutely. There would be nothing if it wasn't for you. You are the microcosm and macrocosm. So transcending the microcosm, becoming more than man, okay, have become in a measure free in the macrocosm and describe something of their vision of the infinite as reflected in and in terms of the finite. This is from George Arundel. This is from the book that is coming out in the Modern Theosophy series. So again, transcending the microcosm, the earthly flesh, the meat suit that you're wearing, right? Free in the macrocosm, all that is, and describe something of their vision of the infinite, of all this unknown, and all this stuff that can be known to the best of our degree, as reflected in and in the terms of the finite. Thank you, George. It's been an honor to be in the book with him. I got to know him very well during that. Man, know thyself, then thou shalt know the universe and God. This is the old Hermetic axiom. This is the temple at Delphi. This is the Socrates, Pythagoras is credited with this. This is ancient, okay? Man, know thyself, and thou shalt know the universe and God. Now, I did a TikTok on this just yesterday, and I got some of the Christians coming in saying, what, are you saying that you're God? And I said, well, I'm saying that everything is God. I'm saying that there's nothing that isn't of God. How can you be created by this all omnipresent, absolute source and not be of it? How can you? They're still teaching that in the religions, this division that you are separate. It is told in our teachings in Theosophy that that is the greatest heresy, to believe that we are separate from all else. We are not separate. And that's one of the most important things to know. Who are you? Where are you? What are you? Where are you going after this? Why are you here? Know yourself. Now that would give me literally lifetimes of things to do. If I only had that paragraph right there, that sentence, if that's all I had to do, it would keep me busy for many lifetimes, because the more I study and the more I apply and the more I spend time with these teachings, the more I realize how little I know. It's very little. So know, who are you? Who are you? You are far more than the 5 physical senses. You are far more than the meat suit that you wear. You are everything. You are everything, and you are capable of so much more than you know. If we give this instruction, and I apologize if I'm getting preachy, I just get so passionate about this. I tried to do a rehearsal and I found out that I was very preachy, but I just get so passionate. I apologize. I can't help it. This enthusiasm is natural, and I'll try to reel it in, but there's nothing more important to do. So behold, the kingdom of heaven is in the midst of you. Now, this actually comes from in Luke chapter 17, verses 20-21. This is in the Christian Bible. It is said that the kingdom of God is not coming in ways that can be observed, okay? Looking around, waiting for some guy to show up, some supernatural superhero to come and be in the crowd. That's what I think this has been taken as. But it is in your midst. Look for it there. The kingdom of God is in the midst of you. Now, midst, if you look up the origin of the name or the word midst, you will find it means middle. It means in the middle of you. The kingdom of heaven is in the middle of you. This is talked about in our teachings, The Father in Secret. All of these are synonymous. They're all parallel sayings. Every single one of the religions, you'll see them come through with parallel sayings. And if you look for the commonalities, as it is instructed in our objectives, look for the commonalities of all the world's religions, sciences, and philosophies, you will see Theosophy shining through quite clearly. So yes, look inside yourself, because that's what you are. That is you. From the Key to Theosophy, know ye not that ye are the temple of God. You are the temple. Nature is the church. This is you, okay, what I'm talking about. You are the temple of God, and that the spirit of the absolute God dwelleth in you. This is the divine spark that we're talking about. This creation that created you is still inside of you. How can it not be of you? How can it not? So we need to stop acting like we're separate from it. We need to stop that. Let no man anthropomorphize that essence in us. Let no Theosophist, if he would hold to divine, not human truth, say that this God in secret listens to or is distinct from either finite man or the infinite essence, for all are one. This is one of the most powerful things. When we understand this, when I listen in my secret doctrine studies about the creation of the universe, when I listen about how all of this came to be, I always used to keep myself separate from that, like I was an observer and I was some separate piece We're not separate. You hear that all the time. Look at the tapestry behind me. This tapestry has warp and weft. Each one of these threads all interwoven together to make one tapestry. Again, like the notes and the harmony that I talked about before, you are a unique note. No other note in the world is like you. You are essential for this harmony. And when you get in tune, you'll vibrate in harmony with all of the other notes. And the only thing you do have control over is your own note. But know that when you get yourself in tune, when you get yourself in order and you overcome yourself, you help all the other notes and threads. All of that makes a difference. Your impact is essential. So as much as you like to study all of this, put it into practice, become it, because know ye not that ye are the temple of God. Okay, I'll just read this little bit for you. When we begin to look boldly inward, we recognize that the sacred texts through the millennia have not been describing this anthropomorphic God from a completely separate realm with all these human insecurities that punishes the ignorant with an eternity in the fireplace, which is ridiculously ignorant. Ignorant doesn't mean stupid, it just means we don't know yet. But now, since we have the text, we can know. And if we know, then we can put that into application. The wisdoms through analogy, parable, and mythology have been referring to our internal higher selves as God and our lower selves as man, as it is in the Bhagavad Gita. Krishna, higher self, Arjuna, lower self. It's very clear. So in our lower self, when we are identifying this, who is this inside? How do you tell the difference? I'm sure a lot of you know this already, but I always use the vices and virtues of man. So higher self would be humility. Pride would be the lower self. Kindness against envy. Temperance against gluttony. Chastity against lust. It doesn't mean you have to be celibate. It just means moderation. Patience against anger. Charity and liberality against greed. And diligence against sloth. So these are the enemies which rise within the body. They are hard to overcome. Again, that'll keep you busy for lifetimes. The evil passions should manfully be fought. And we have heard this not only from HPB in the Theosophist on chelas and lay chelas, but from all the sages through the ages. If you can conquer yourself, if you can get all of this under control when you want to be angry and you want to be able to defend yourself and you want to be right, wars are launched based on this lower self. That's who's fighting those wars, who's starting these wars. And there are wars that are not just big wars, but little ones inside homes, between parents, between family members. If you can conquer yourself, it is equal to the conqueror of worlds. Remember, you're in the tapestry. You conquer yourself, you help the rest of the tapestry. You help the universal harmony. The only place any of this work can be done is inside yourself. That's it. So conquer the world, conquer yourself. And then do not be afraid of your difficulties. Oh, this is where I was going to stop. Another quote here that I didn't, not stop, but I was going to take a moment to talk about difficulties here. This is a quote, again, I cannot find its original source. It's quoted all over the internet, attributed to HPB. Pain is the usher of wisdom. And during our lives, we will come through many difficult things. We will come through trials and tribulations and cataclysms even, and great loss and great pain. And that's what's shaping you. Pain can lead to wisdom if you allow. It is said in our teachings that when things are difficult, we are learning. When things are good, we get to rest, and expecting that cycle to stop is where we get all of our pain, because we expect it to be daytime all the time. It's perfect, everything's working out great, I don't have any problems. Well, you're missing out, because you're not going to be able to learn. It's not going to shape you unless you have some polishing by other rocks and other stones. So in my life, I would say there's two really big events. There's actually three. One is taking place right now, but there's two big events. One was in 2002. Is that being in radio, I was it was sex, drugs, and rock and roll. Yes, yes, and yes, all of that. And the drugs and the alcohol became massive. I was born an empath, so I became it's quite codependent, feeling really, really, really deep. And so I wanted a way just to stop the way that I felt. And so I would drink to stop the way that I felt. That's what most people drink for, or any substance is used to numb the feelings or just to feel nothing at all, just for a brief reprieve, because life here on earth is a very difficult place. So in 2002, it had gotten to a point where it was ridiculous, and I don't want to go on too long, but I ended up almost dead. I was convicted felon. I lost everything, and I had to learn how to live again. And I would have to say that during that time, when it was between life and death, when it was no longer a party, it wasn't just being backstage at the rock concerts, but the drinking was literally, it owned me. And in the writings, in the collected writings, Blavatsky does talk about what happens when you vacate your body and you allow the lower entities to come in. It is the very real thing. It's like a possession. That's what it feels like. But there's so many right now because life is so difficult. If they had the access to these teachings, that's what they're hungry for. Once I pulled up that throttle, I was actually face down. The plane was heading straight down into the ground, and I had to pull it up and realize that I either had to live or die. And once I realized that, I got out the other side, and I was looking to fill the eternal hole in my soul. I was looking to find this solution inside myself. It was always closer than my own breath. It was always there. And when I went on the circuit to talk in the recovery circles, I found that the reason people drink and use is because life is too painful, and they simply want to have a moment of bliss or good or God. And that's what I was looking for. So in 2002, it took me a big difficulty to find out that what I was looking for has been inside me all along. And then if we go forward to 2011, after moving to the United Kingdom in 2009, I have this beautiful boy. I have a son, and he is the love of my life. He is everything to me, absolutely everything. And in 2009, his father really wasn't that bothered. I thought that this would be a great opportunity to give him life here in the United Kingdom. And I thought there would be no issues. He could go back and visit. It was a very logical thing. But anyway, that move in 2009, I was never going to leave if I had to leave Alex. I would never have left Alex. So when I got here, the custody battle raged and it roared and it was horrific. And I was seeing this little guy, this little boy, coming back with the venom and the drama from our battle. And I could not live without him. He is my only child. He is everything to me. And I could not, and I would not have ever left him. But in 2009, a difficulty of the most magnificent proportions came into my life. And I stood there at the window in Totnes with tears running down my face, thinking, I can't live without him, but I can't destroy him. What do I do? And an answer came. It wasn't a voice, but it was an answer that came that said, you're going to have to let go, because how are you going to teach compassion until you become compassion? And I said, I can't live without him. I cannot live without Alex. I can't. But I realized that if I was going to do the right thing, children need both parents. The only winner of a custody battle is peaceful parents. You mated with that person. You had a relationship with that person. You now have a child. It is your responsibility to overcome yourself and do the right thing. So that surrender on that battlefield absolutely changed my trajectory in every way. It was 2011. I picked up my first William Walker Atkinson book. And that is what led me to Light on the Path, which then led to the diploma courses, and then, of course, Voice of the Silence and all that. So these difficulties, no matter what it is that you're going through, they are lessons, they are teachers. The most difficult people in your life are teachers. The most traumatic and horrific pain that you go through are teaching you. They are teaching you. If I would have known that I had access to these teachings early on, I think perhaps my life might have been a little bit different. But however, I needed these face plants from 30,000 feet to go ahead and wake up. And so anyway, do not be afraid of your difficulties. Don't. Do not wish you could be in circumstances other than ones that you are. And believe me, I wanted to. When I was homeless and I was looking at literally prison, 3 years in prison was staring me in the face. Since then, my felonies have been reduced, expunged, dismissed. But it was really dark. So I could apply this in that situation. Do not wish to be in other circumstances that you are, for when you have made the best of an adversity, it becomes the stepping stone to a splendid opportunity. And I remember reading this, even now, I go, oh my God, there's no stepping stones here. This is horrible. This is the worst thing that could possibly happen to anybody. But they prove every time to be opportunities to learn if you allow them to. But you have to be willing to allow them to. Now, I had to be wrestled pretty much to the ground in those two, but I now look back at them and I can clearly see that this is absolutely essential. And that's what the teachings of Theosophy can allow us to experience if we let them. When things are difficult, you are learning. When things are really good, you get a reprieve. The cycle never stops. Just like the sun and the moon and the tides and the breath going in, going out, it is always a cycle, always. So after Alex went back to the States and came to visit, I began a new way of living. I started to go ahead and I got into these texts. I got into the teachings, and I could see things were being revealed more and more. It just became a natural, compassionate move to go ahead and remove meat from my diet and all dairy products, because it seemed cruel. It didn't seem like I had the right to take in these elements into my life. I couldn't and shouldn't do that. So I became a vegan. So I put this quote in here because I believe that if you're on this path, it just seems like the next logical step. So you don't have to be a vegan, but I had to be to continue on my path. So that's why I'm sharing this quote. So it says, no animal food of whatever kind, nothing that has life in it should be taken in by the disciple. And don't let the word disciple scare you. We're all disciples, just student or lanu, whatever you want to say, just somebody who studies Theosophy. No wine, no spirits or opium should be used. And she also says, these are like the Lamayan, these are evil spirits who fasten upon the unwary as they devour the understanding. Again, that is part of what I was talking about earlier when I talked about the alcohol and being drunk and wasted. When you're out of your body, when you're out of your head, that's actually where the term alcohol comes from. That means out of your head. Yes. So they will fasten upon you, and you are in a, look at the, okay, really quick, look at the bars and pubs, fights, sex, drama, stabbings, shootings. No, there's a darkness there. When you log off like that, for example, look at the computer in front of you. This computer is online, okay? I'm connected to complete source. If I turn it off, shut it off, it's just the computer sitting there by itself. It doesn't have potential. But that's what you do when you drink and you use. When you're trying to numb the pain, you're literally cutting yourself off from source, the absolute. You're cutting yourself off from who you truly are. So there isn't ever going to be enough to keep you out of pain. But if you have these tools, if you have Theosophy, if you have these teachings, you'll have like a little roadmap on how to figure out how to navigate the world. So Theosophy belongs to all and solely to none. Nobody can own Theosophy. I don't care who, not even HPV, she doesn't own Theosophy. No one owns Theosophy. Theosophy has been since the very beginning of time itself, and it belongs to everybody and solely to no one. No one can claim ownership of it. And it cannot be taught. And this is my quote here. I wrote this. And I get some grief for that, but it can't be taught. You can't teach somebody compassion, but you can show them by leading by example. It cannot be taught, it cannot be bought, but it can be earned and it can be learned. You can learn it, but I can't teach you it. No one can teach it to me. I can learn it because if I want to study it and I'm attracted to it, I want to put it into application, and I'll tell you how you can learn it. Take, when you're at this next, I don't know, Pablo Sender talk, take what he's talking about, or Petra Meyer, take her stuff. It's amazing. Take it and use it and become it. Listen to what she's saying. It isn't something that's outside of you. She's talking about the story of your life. And so is Pablo. So all of us are talking about that. It all has to do with you. It's not separate from you. It is you. It can be earned and it can be learned. So the third object of the Theosophical Society, many of you will be familiar with this, is to investigate the hidden mysteries of nature under every aspect possible, and the psychic and spiritual powers latent in man especially. So there's something really beautiful when I get the chance to go outside and be in nature. There is something magical. Many of the poets and the sages through the ages, they say the same thing, and we are destroying nature to build buildings, to say that we need to go in there to find our spiritual solution. What is wrong with us? What is wrong with us? We have to work with nature. As HPB says, work with nature, get on with her, and she will help you. We're all part of this beautiful ball. So here, I'm going to be talking about something that might be a little bit questionable for some of you, but I have found that some of these painful events have led me to apply what I'm going to talk about, and it's changed my life. So, and it's from the Secret or Isis Unveiled. So to investigate the hidden mysteries of nature, there's going to be so many of them. There are already so many of them that science is finding out right now and bringing into the real world as proof, but you can have this proof through your experience. Okay, and the psychic and spiritual powers latent in man especially. The voices inside of us, there are two of them. Well, sometimes there's more depending on who you are, but the voices inside of us, the voice of the silence. I like to identify the voice of that first voice up. The very first voice up is well, it's not this slide. The first voice up is judgmental. It's racist. It's jealous. It thinks that you're the greatest thing in the world, but also says you're a pile of crap. It talks crap about everybody and everything, and it is incessant. This is the voice of the brute nature or the lower self. And it is interesting how this voice, and I guess you could call it, they call it the ego, but it's something else. It's an earthly voice it's always the first one up, and it always has a really strong opinion. But you don't have to act on that voice. Once you start to listen and get inside between the thoughts, you get inside into that silent space, you'll find that there is another voice there, which is the voice of the silence. And in Petra's talk, we heard she mentioned a Buddhist saying, which is silence is not empty. It is full of answers. So when we say meditate, quiet the thoughts, there's a point to do that, to quiet that first voice up. The first voice, everybody has it. I don't care what they say. That first voice, a lot of people think it's actually us. You can hear it, say, thanks for sharing with me, but not today, because I'm going to go ahead and not act on you. I'm going to act on the right. I'm going to choose the higher self this time. But sometimes you do get caught up in it. And especially if you're in an argument and you feel like you really need to be right, that needing to be right is that first voice up. The second voice, the other voice that's inside all of us, when we look within and access the soundless space, when we get between the thoughts, it is there. And we listen for the voice of the silence, which is one of our most imperative texts in these theosophical teachings. That is a metaphysical poem to some, but to the rest of us, it is a powerful, powerful short text that basically tells you everything you need to know. It's like the Secret Doctrine condensed in a way. It is a beautiful text, but in that Voice of the Silence book, you can learn to listen for the voice of the silence that's within you, that keeps giving. It's not just less than 100 pages long. The voice of the silence is there to instruct you. Listen inside and you will hear it. And it is there, and it is there to guide you. The Voice of the Silence has so many quotes, so many things that I would love to share with you. And I'm positive that you have probably a copy with you. Whenever I visited, no matter what, no matter how many times I've read it, and I voiced it as an audiobook. I spent months with it every day, and every time I read it, something new comes out of it, something brand new. It is ridiculous how that happens. But every time, if I crack it, it means something different. I don't understand how that works, but it does. In the Voice of the Silence, you'll understand this. If you're an empathetic heart, hast thou attuned thy being to humanity's great pain, O candidate for light? That means, can you understand and do you feel when you watch the news or you look online, do you feel responsible to help in some way to ease the suffering? If you feel this is a call to order. This is a call to action. It says also, can there be bliss when all that lives must suffer? What is the point of us being on this planet if we're to be elevated to go float off into a cloud somewhere or some mansion in the sky and have grapes fed to us and be fanned by palms when everybody else here is starving and suffering and hurting and at war and bleeding and dying? Can there be bliss when all that lives must suffer? These little pieces of the Voice of the Silence stood out to me as if they were in bold font carved out of granite. These are what being a Theosophist to me means. Because how can you leave here without being responsible for what is happening here? Because what is happening here is you. You are not separate, nor will you be able to go off somewhere after 80 years on this planet or 30 years on this planet to have an everlasting happiness just because you went to a building once a week. This means that we're responsible to put our stuff into action, to put these teachings, these ancient, sacred, universal principles into action. And by giving them to other people, they then put them into action. This is what we're looking at. It is the Grail. This is the Grail. These teachings are the Grail. Some people may disagree with me. My experience has proven me different. It's different. I believe this is the Grail. We give it to other people. They have it. They'll give it to others. They never have to come back here again. We're here to help. And it is now is the time that we need to do this. It is not, yesterday is too late. Yeah, yesterday is too late. So shalt thou be saved and hear the whole world cry, how could you? How could you? I can't. I need to get busy. And that's why I've given up everything that I have to do this full time, because the time is now. So each activity, no matter how small, it should be infused with these ancient sacred teachings. Going to the store, somebody takes your parking space. It could be dealing with your spouse. My spouse just came in here and decided to do some cleaning next to what I was sharing, and it was extremely distracting. Not murdering him for that is applying Theosophy, or being able to be responsible in every way. It is our responsibility to be responsible with ourselves and working to overcome ourselves. We must become living Theosophy. We must live it in every aspect of our days, in the difficult times, in the good times, the bad times, especially in the bad times. But I promise you, if you put it into application, you will see miracles happen. You will see the world will change. Your world will change, and you will change other worlds as well. So we have in the Theosophical Society, this is also George Arundel, who I was teaming up with in that book. He's written that here in the Theosophical Society today and outside the Theosophical Society, there are people who insist that their particular truths are the only truths. And I think that's not just the Theosophical Society. I'm pretty sure that's humanity. That their truths are the only truths. That's a tale as old as time. And the only theosophies. We must undo this. We must undo this. There is no us and them. There's only a we. And some of us are in theosophical organizations and some of us are not, but we're all the same thing. So he says that's not only dangerous, but it's almost untruthful. It means that the individual who insists on his own particular way, upon his own particular interpretation of theosophy, does not possess his way, does not possess his own particular theosophy. You can't have your own theosophy. You have theosophy and you apply it. And he says, but is possessed by it, obsessed by it, is enslaved by it. So that would be a good way to describe the wrong way to do it. But as long as you're doing it and you're applying it selflessly and to yourself, nothing in the world will change. You can't change anything outside of yourself, not another person, not another situation, not another event, but you can change your thoughts and your reactions to it. And when you do change yourself, you will find that those situations will start to realign and change too. That is part of what we talked about in Isis Unveiled earlier. It's absolutely the truth. Your thoughts are so imperative. Yogi Ramacharaka, William Walker Atkinson says that they are living forces, choose them wisely. They're electricity, they're real things, and they become living things. Pay attention to them. You can change your thoughts. You don't have to be like this. You can change your thoughts. In the book, I thought I'd come up with something clever. I don't even know if they're going to publish it. I submitted it on my first draft. An easy way for people to remember Theosophy. And this could be really silly. I've not even shown anyone this, but I found that if I have these little things here, carnal, cause and effect, commonalities, connection, consciousness, cosmos, and cycles. And with those 7 C's, because I'm thinking of the 7 C's and 7 being such a sacred number, I came up with these just to go ahead for anybody who's coming across Theosophy. It doesn't have to be complicated. It is divine science and divine knowledge, but it doesn't have to be quantum physics all the time. It is the ultimate in quantum physics, mathematics, and heavy, heavy science, but it can also be made palatable and relatable and understandable and handy. even. It can be handy. So the 7 C's of Theosophy are, I talk about carnal, talk about the body, cause and effect. As you do, so shall you reap. Your cause and effect. Karma and reincarnation is in there. The commonalities. Instead of looking and meeting somebody and thinking, I am so different from that person is different from me, and they're this and they're that. Look for the commonalities, pure and simple. It doesn't have to be all the world's religions, sciences, and philosophies. Look for the commonalities in everybody that you meet. Look for the commonalities. Connection. You are connected. The biggest, nebula, all the way down to the tiniest atom. Everything is connected. You are not separate. Remember, the greatest heresy is to believe that you are separate from all the rest. You are not. You are not separate. Consciousness, again, the consciousness of the cosmos is what is inside you as well. Though we are experiencing it through our meat suit, through the human body, it is the same consciousness. Don't dismiss that. The cosmos, again, this is as above, so below, the microcosm, macrocosm. And I'm just giving you the tiny little bits. I explain it more in the book, but I don't even know if they're going to say yes to it. So anyway, the cycles, again, everything is cyclical. Even this Manvantara, this wave of being is cyclical. The great breath, that same cycle with the tides going in and going out, the breath going in, going out, civilizations rising and falling, everything is cyclical. That helps, especially when it comes to death, because we celebrate birth as though it's the only thing in the world. Happy birthday, but we never talk about the end of the cycle. We need to remember everything is cyclical. And nature teaches us that with the seasons. It's beautiful. Okay, Theosophy literally gives us every tool. It gives us everything we need, everything, and paves the way for us all to understand our connection. So if we can unite as the endless, boundless being that we are, if we could just unite instead of worrying about, well, that theosophy is so not William Q. Judge enough, or that theosophy is too Blavatsky. Stop it. Stop. That's not what they were They were not trying to say that. It isn't about that. I think they'd be mortified, actually, if we were celebrating their death day and being exclusive. Stop it. Just stop it. We need to come together and work on ourselves. That's all we can do, is work on ourselves, team up with like-minded people, and move out into the world and bring these teachings out there to all. We need to understand we are that being. We are that consciousness. Let us start to act like it. Okay, every victorious step forward. Hang on, I thought I was done. Okay, hang on. I want to make sure I get these for you. Yeah, every victorious step forward, every step we take forward, it aids the healing of our planet. It raises the consciousness of our planet. Everything that we do, if you think it doesn't mean anything, it does, because if you're changing you, you're changing the world. Every heartbreak that you overcome, every fight that you don't get involved with helps the world, because you're the tapestry. Remember that. Okay, every victorious step forward aids the healing of our planet as we work in harmony with nature by recognizing our true self and realigning with responsibility, compassion, understanding, and love. Our efforts help to ease the unnecessary suffering of all beings here on earth. And there's no more important job to do, because from the heart, okay, this is all taking place in the heart. It's not an academic journey. It's not. It is from the heart. That power shall rise into the sixth, the middle region, the place between thine eyes. That is your pineal gland. And when it becomes the breath of the one soul, the voice which filleth all, because it is only then that thou can become a walker of the sky. That's you. And that's from the voice of the silence. And I thought I'd close on that. And I apologize for the distractions, but I hope that you got something out of that. And I love you. Thank you for listening to me tonight.
Oh my goodness, and that was unbelievable.
I don't know about that. It was terrible.
Gosh, you are a powerhouse.
Oh, bless you. Thank you all so much. I see you there. Thank you. I hope that made some sense. And I appreciate you listening to me. Thank you for being here. I get really passionate about it, but I hope that there was something there you could take away, because it is my life. It is everything to me.
Yeah, gosh.
It came across beautifully.
Oh, bless you. Thank you. I'm so glad. Thank you.
And you've not to have.
Oh, bless you. The Skywalker, I always like that at the end. That is so gorgeous, where these it's just so, it's so true. We have this, it's like it is truly the grail. We're here, we have it, and it's now. And let us go out into the world and let us take this out. Thank you for watching all the way to the end of the video. Look at us, it's just me and you right here. So if you could, please click like and subscribe. It does something to the algorithm, so it gets these out there for those who are looking for it. And also click the bell icon so you can be notified when Living Theosophy has a brand new video. There's way more to come. I love you. Thank you. All the way to the end of the video, here we are. It's just me and you. I'm wondering if you would please click like and subscribe. That would be great. Click the little purple picture down at the bottom there. It's a very special picture. There's a story to it. I've talked about it on this video before, but click that, subscribe, click like, if you will. It does something to the algorithm so it can get this video out for more people to watch. And also click the bell notification icon so you can be notified next time Living Theosophy goes live. Yeah, that's what I was gonna say.